Hello there all, Kate back here and welcome to this channel. Today we're going to visit a lovely city named Porvoo and we're going to take a bus from Helsinki. It's affordable and very close and very convenient. It's roughly 56 kilometers or so from the downtown Helsinki. Porvoo was one of the 6 medieval towns in Finland along with Turku. As of today, Porvoo is considered the second oldest city in Finland. It was mentioned for the first time as a city in the text of 14th century. And Porvoo was briefly a capital of the former Eastern Uusimaa region. Porvoo Old Town is very popular and beloved tourist destination with local tourists and international tourists alike. It is known for well-preserved 18th and 19th century buildings and most notably for 15th century Porvoo Cathedral. Old Town and Porvonjoki River Valley together are recognized as a national landscape of Finland. If you will cross the bridge from the city Old Town and then go over to the park that is right opposite of the city, you would have a great view over the city and over the river. I love traveling in Finland, and it doesn't matter for me what season that is. Every season is beautiful. It also has difficulties. In summer there are way too many mosquitoes. In winter it's a bit cold, but make your pick. If you bear mosquitoes, go for summer. If you don't bear mosquitoes that well, then maybe go for winter or something in between. It is cold, granted, but if you dress well, it's not that bad. There is a Swedish and I think a Finnish saying that goes something like, there is no bad weather, there's only people that are not well dressed. And that's something I've learned the hard way after living in Finland for a while, realizing that I really am not dressed for the season or for the weather. And over time I actually figured out how to dress well. Once you figure that out, then you can travel in Finland with little to discomfort you in the process. And it's certainly worth it because Finland has its own charm. In the winter, covered in snow, very beautiful. So if you walk past the whole park, it's maybe 10 or 15 minutes walk, you would arrive to the bridge. Right by the bridge there is a great view that opens to the old cathedral and to the old town itself. And here you see the famous red wooden buildings that Porvoo is actually known for. I would also recommend walking directly by the river because it offers a different view over the city. Originally I visited Porvoo during the summer and it was stunning, truly. Very green, lots of flowers, very pretty, very warm. But winter has its own charm, especially if you're visiting during the Christmas season. There are a lot of Christmas decorations that make it really beautiful, almost like a fairy tale town. What I really enjoyed in Porvoo as well is that most of the new buildings are actually built in the style of the old town of Porvoo. So it has a very nice, harmonious continuation from the old town to the newly built buildings. And now to the history of the city. The area of Porvoo has been inhabited since the Stone Age. In prehistoric times, the river Porvonjoki was a route of commerce for Finnish tribe Tavastians, who primarily inhabited the inland regions. Porvoo was colonized by Swedes in 13th and 14th century, and there was so-called Second Crusade against Tavastians in 1249. The colonization was led by Catholic Church and the Kingdom of Sweden. The colonists were provided with seeds, cattle, and tax exemptions for about 4 years. With these kind of conditions, I guess many were eager to colonize. As we already know, the earliest mention of Porvoo come from early 14th century documents. And in 1380, Porvoo became the third town in Finland to be granted official town rights after Turku and Ulvila. However, there are also evidence pointing out that the city was founded as early as 1347, making it a second oldest city in Finland. An interesting aspect of city history was the fact that the old town came close to being demolished in 19th century by the new urban plan of the city. Luckily for us, the plan was cancelled due to the popular resistance headed by Count Louis Sparre. My deepest gratitude to Louis Sparre. Because of this resistance, eventually the plans were cancelled and different plans had to be put in place, and luckily for us, the old town has survived. Today, Old Town is vibrant, it's a beautiful place, very good for tourists, with a variety of restaurants, coffee houses, and antique shops, and great hotels. The central point of the Old Town is the medieval stone brick Porvoo Cathedral. The cathedral gave name to Porvoo Communion that was there. And the cathedral itself, the design of the cathedral is actually very, very similar to most of the churches of the same time across Finland. And the reason behind it is that they were designed by the same person, an anonymous German architect. The cathedral has burned down 5 times. The latest fire happened sadly recently in 2006. The roof was totally destroyed, but luckily interior was not damaged. The cathedral is actually the site of opening the first Diet of Finland in 1809, where Finland was actually declared an autonomous Grand Duchy. So the cathedral had very, very long, eventful history. The church originally was made of wood. The first stone walls were built in 1410. The cathedral was nearly destroyed several times by fires. 1508 by Danish forces, and then several times by Russian forces, and then in 2006 nearly destroyed by the drunken youth. Luckily, the cathedral has survived to our days. And other of my suggestions in traveling in Finland, make sure that your shoes are well prepared so you don't slide too much, because there's a lot of ice almost everywhere, so you would be forced to walk here and there on ice. So be prepared, your shoes should not be slippery. And now the well-known Porvoo delicacies. Runeberg torta was developed by local pastry master, and it's known that Runeberg himself ate them for breakfast. He was a national poet, a very famous Finnish national poet, and his wife used to make them a lot at home. And these were sort of a leftover types of cakes almost. Whatever you find in the cupboard will go in it. Wheat, biscuit crumbs, almonds, apple jam, or whatever other jam you might have, sugar and whatnot. Those are very, very tasty, and they are seasonal, I believe, so be sure to check out when exactly they come out. I think it's late winter, early spring as well, so if you're traveling during this time period, definitely try those cakes. They're really, really tasty. It's a greatly preserved old town, and for me, walking and being surrounded by this beautiful, colorful 18th, 19th century buildings really give you the sense and the feel of the history, which I think in many ways that's why traveling is so worthy, because history comes to life somehow. And here we can have a closer look to the famous red-colored wooden buildings. These are storage buildings on the riverside that are actually proposed to be UNESCO World Heritage Site. Many buildings were redesigned, renovated, and repurposed. For example, this building used to be a warehouse, and today it's a really nice coffee bar place, which has really, really good view over the river. And then I walked accidentally into this adorable moments, couldn't resist, so got it on the video as well. By the end of the trip, we were completely exhausted and decided to have some coffee in a local coffee shop. So I went for a traditional pulla. And I think it's a seasonal pulla that comes out only sometime in late winter, early spring. And it comes with cream, extremely heavy, but very, very tasty and seasonal. So definitely if you have a chance to try it, definitely try it. You won't have a chance unless you are during that particular season when it is actually sold. It was very good, to recommend trying it. That would be all, my dear friends. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to put the like, don't forget to subscribe. Check out my other videos about Finland. There are plenty of descriptions down below or here on the screen, so check them out. Thank you for joining.